The reading today is by the poet Andrea Gibson. Andrea, a local poet, a Colorado poet laureate who died almost exactly 3 months ago now. They wrote this poem in a little nook in the Boulder Library, this called Say Yes. When two violins are placed in a room, if a chord on one violin is struck, the other violin will sound the note. If this is your definition of hope, this is for you. The ones who know how powerful we are, who know we can sound the music in the people around us simply by playing our own strings. For the ones who sing life into broken wings, open their chests and offer their breath as wind on a still day when nothing seems to be moving, spare those intent on proving God is dead. For you, when your fingers are red from clutching your heart so it will beat faster. For the time you mastered the art of giving yourself for the sake of someone else. For the ones who have felt what it is to crush the lies and lift truth so high the steeples bow to the sky. This is for you. This is also for the people who wake early to watch flowers bloom, who notice the moon at noon on a day when the world has slapped them in the face with its lack of light, for the mothers who feed their children first and thirst for nothing when they're full. This is for women and for the men who taught me that only women bleed with the moon, but there are men who cry when women bleed, men who bleed from women's wounds, and this is for that moon. On the nights that she seems hung by a noose, for the people who cut her loose, and for the people still waiting for the rope to burn, about to learn that they have scissors in their hands. This is for the man who showed me the hardest thing about having nothing is having nothing to give, who said the only reason to live is to give ourselves away. So this is for the day we'll quit our jobs and work for something real. We'll feel for sunshine in the shadows, look for sun rays in the shade. This is for the people who rattled the cage that slave wage built, and for the ones who didn't know the filth until tonight, but right now are beginning songs that sound something like people turning their porch lights on and calling the homeless back home. This is for everything we own, and for the day we'll learn how much we have when we learn to give that stuff away. This is for doubt becoming faith, for falling from grace and climbing back up, for trading our silver platters for something that matters, like the gold that shines from our hands when we hold each other. This is for the grandmother who walked 1,000 miles on broken glass to find that single patch of grass to plant a family tree where the fruit would grow to laugh. For the ones who know the math of war has always been subtraction, so they live like an action of addition. For you, when you give like every star is wishing on you, and for the people still wishing on stars, this is for you too. This is for the times you went through hell so someone else wouldn't have to. For the time you taught a 14-year-old girl she was powerful. This is for the time you taught a 14-year-old boy he was beautiful. For the radical anarchist asking a Republican to dance, because what's the chance of everyone moving from right to left if the only moves they see are NBC and CBS? This is for no becoming yes, for scars becoming breath, for saying I love you to people who will never say it to us, for scraping away the rust and remembering how to shine. For the dime you gave away when you didn't have a penny, for the many beautiful things we do, for every song we've ever sung, for refusing to believe in miracles because miracles are the impossible coming true and everything is possible. This is for the possibility that guides us, and for the possibilities still waiting to sing and spread their wings inside us, because tonight Saturn is on his knees proposing with all his 10,000 rings that whatever song we've been singing, we sing even more. The world needs us right now more than it ever has before. Pull all your strings, play every chord. If you're writing letters to prisoners, start tearing down the bars. If you're handing out flashlights in the dark, start handing out stars. Never go a second hushing the percussion of your heart. Play loud. Play like you know the clouds have left too many people cold and broken, and you're their last chance for sun. Play like there is no time for hoping brighter days will come. Play like the apocalypse is only 4, 3, 2, but you have a drum in your chest that could save us. You have a song like a breath that could raise us like the sunrise into a dark sky that cries to be blue. Play like you know we won't survive if you don't, but we will if you do. Play like Saturn is on his knees, proposing with all his 10,000 rings that we give every single breath. This is for saying yes. This is for saying yes. Grieve, hope, breathe, love. This is what I rose to say 52 Sundays ago from this pulpit, just days after the election. Grieve, hope, breathe, love. Care for yourself, you are beloved. Care for each other, so is everyone else. Love mercy, do justice, walk humbly. 52 weeks later, I have no updated plan. It's just that. Our deepest values urge us on, still heedless of polls and probabilities, to make real, in fact, what the love at the core of our commitments teaches us is true. Which is to say, in one form, to connect bravely, to deepen spiritually, to embody justice, and always to love. That's still the work. That's still the thread to follow. Every so often, a newcomer will tell me that they're surprised that what we talk about here feels so political, and I don't think they mean by that just the Defending Democracy group coordinating protest, or the racial justice team bringing education about immigration, or LGBTQ connection group with the radical notion that queer people are people. Sometimes I think they're expressing surprise that a religious institution can hold deeply progressive values, but more often I think it's surprise that in this house we see our own individual spiritual health and growth as deeply intertwined with engagement in the world. This sensibility we have, so basic, it's often unstated, that our deepest values call us into a kind of living that doesn't stop at the doors or stop at the outside of our head. Joanna Macy, the Buddhist philosopher and ecologist, who died this summer, the same week as Andrea Gibson. Joanna Macy wrote, "Sometimes people tend to view the personal and the political in sequential fashion. I'll get enlightened first, and then I'll engage in social action." And folks who aren't engaged in spiritual pursuits, who aren't Buddhists, say, put it differently, I'll get my head straight first. I'll get psychoanalyzed, I'll overcome my inhibitions or neuroses, my hang-ups, and then I will wade out into the fray. Presupposing, she writes, presupposing that the world and the self are essentially separate, They imagine they can heal one before healing the other. And this stance conveys the impression that human consciousness, that our experience, inhabits some haven, some locker room, independent of the collective situation, and then trots onto the playing field when it gets geared up and ready. But she says, it's my experience that the world itself has a role to play in our liberation. Its very pressures and pains and risks can wake us up, release us from the bonds of ego, and guide us home to our vast true nature. For some of us, our love of the world is so passionate that we cannot ask it to wait until we are enlightened. This is for saying yes. Only a profound falling in love with the world can give the energy, the power, the resilience, the joy that we need to make the work of building the future, the work of our living. Anger and resentment are not enough to sustain that change. Have you ever tried to be mad at yourself enough into being a better person? I hope that's a laugh of recognition. Yes, it doesn't go great. It goes okay enough on the outside for a little while, but you are miserable. Have you ever tried to shame and guilt yourself into being the sort of person you want to be? I mean, you can get really good at acting right. You can get super good at masking. But it's only going to take you so far, and you're still going to be miserable on the inside. Sometimes it feels, especially in these last 52 weeks, that fear and anxiety are the things that are going to give the energy, the power to go to make change in our own lives collectively. Anxiety bounces around in the body and activates and agitates and eventually wears you out. And it's not that the pain and the anxiety and the loss that maybe you feel are unreal. The uncertainty about what sort of a world we're passing forward now is real. And you, especially if you grew up like in the 80s and 90s, the post-war myth of social progress onwards and upwards forever, the shattering of that is real. And the sinking jolt of adrenaline you feel looking at the addictive anxiety, at Facebook, at the addictive anxiety machine of social media, that jolt, that's real. And any one of those things, any one of those stimuli, right, can be the fuel, the prompt, the reflex that sends you into anger or resentment or shame or guilt or fear. But you don't automatically have to go that way. I read once that excitement and fear, the emotions, the feelings that we call excitement and fear, run on the same circuits in the brain. We just attach different meaning to them. What would it look like to have that sort of a moment of choosing? What will my response be? What if this reflex reaction isn't a reflex, but a choosing? Joanna Macy, as a Buddhist, wrote once that the Buddha encourages us to begin with our own experience, to begin with the living that we know firsthand. Come see for yourself, he says. And what we're invited first to see, she writes, is our suffering. In our collective situation today, with almost overwhelming social and environmental crises. She wrote this in 1981. Ha ha ha. Oh, you sweet summer child. Trusting our own, but if she knew it then, it's more so now. Trusting our own experience means acknowledging our deep inner responses, our anguish for the world. The pain is ours, she says. It's real. And if we're brave enough to confront it and own it, it has much to tell us. It tells us that we are alive and capable of suffering with the world, that we are by nature compassionate beings. And this capacity for suffering reveals our caring and our deep interconnection with all life forms. From that interbeing arises the power to act and to heal. It emboldens us to walk out into the world as into our own hearts. That's the only fuel I know for the journey ahead, for living, the only one that won't burn you out or wear you out or destroy you in the process. Only compassion, that gentleness, only heartbreak is strong enough. The poet and preacher Liz James writes this, and we'll end with her poetry. She says, "You are not on call for the pain of the world. I know you feel every hit of the hammer beating plowshares into swords and people into plowshares. And every time you fail to step between the blow and its target, the injustice is sewn into your bones. And so when the hammer rises, you must rise with it, raising your voice, your eyes, your awareness, your body, whatever part of you that you can give as an offering. You can't stay that way forever, sewn to this cacophony of blows. Every movement of yours is a follow until your own body is owned by the drumbeat of the raising of weapons, until your days string together in a stuttering heartbreak of rage and you can't catch your breath. But this is what you promised to those who don't get to choose whether or not to show up for the fight. You promised that you would hold nothing back. I know. Except you cannot be on call for the pain of the world. It's not work that can be done without sleep. When we said that people are too sacred to be beaten into plowshares or swords, we meant you. We need you for the fight, and we need you for all the things that are less and more than fighting. We need you to be ready to listen in the soft way earth listens to rain in the hours before dawn. We need you to be tender, to cradle precious things, to hold the smell of dew in your hair, to hum the song that flowers will rise up through the earth to hear. I need you to stay in love with the world. Amen.